and they claimed that he had outstanding legal problems with the US government, which I believe he does not. And they forced him to sign a whole bundle of paperwork which they wouldn't actually let him read before they let him leave after many hours of detention, deported him back to Ecuador, where the Ecuadorian authorities then got him again and said, what were you doing in Mexico, and held him for another few hours. However, over the last few years, Greg and I have made some videos together, which mysteriously are missing off YouTube. And I came across Greg because he was instrumental in explaining to people how cancer is not an incurable disease. And he's unfortunately spent 2 terms in American prisons for speaking the truth. Anyway, actually, they haven't given me the clicker. I need a little clicker. Give me a moment. I need the clicker. Okay. So we also do stand-up comedy. Okay. So I'm sure it's actually working. Anyway, well, let me explain. If you want to know more about what happened to Greg Caton, on gregcaton.com, he's written the cover page explains the story of what just happened. However, he was really here to promote his sort of masterwork book, which he first realized he was going to write back in 2010 when he was in an American prison. And it's called Psychopathocracy. Let me say that again. Psychopathocracy. And the book is available on one of his websites, which is herbalhealers.com. Now, it's about the application of revolutionary thinking. So let me see if I can get this to work. So can somebody come and help me, because it is not working right now. Yeah. So, somebody from the back come and help me with the clicker. So, basically, Greg was listed as one of the 6 most wanted people in the world. He was on front cover of magazines along with Osama bin Laden, and with no actual proof that he'd done anything wrong at all. They detained him at that point for 21 months. And he's been involved with anarchistic thinking and natural cures for a very long time. And when these slides finally work, if they ever do, I'm going to show you some of the hidden history of cancer cures in the last century. Many of you may not know that there were hospitals around America that were curing cancer. There was one particular hospital that I think 1896 to 1956, they'd cured over 70,000 people, employed a vast number of doctors, huge staff, and even though they had surgeons on the staff, it turned out that they only used surgery in less than 1% of the cases of cancer. And this information, like many others, has just been completely buried. It's almost impossible to find it. So we seem to have now the slides coming up, except nothing is actually happening. Again, I need some help with this clicker, please. Okay, so what got Mr. Caton famous and got him into trouble was what's called escharotic preparations. We probably know them as black salve or black salve. And the Native American Indians used to use it for all sorts of skin conditions, but he made it was almost unknown. He made it popular as people understood that you could use it to cure internal cancers. That got him in a lot of trouble. As you probably know, and he'd like me to say, that modern medicine is the antithesis of health. So this was one of the treatments that he produced called Cansema, and Okay, so this man showing on the screen now is Dr. Perry Nichols, and he owned the Perry Nichols Sanatorium, who cured the 70,000 patients. He passed away in mysterious circumstances in 1925, but his daughter continued it. And so Mr. Caton went looking, if you like, for a unified field theory, as he puts it, of healing. He went to the Missouri County Museum looking for any evidence that this chap, Dr. Perry Nichols, actually existed. And it's really been totally wiped from history. And he asked me to say that, as Voltaire said, history is a Mississippi of lies. Now, it was a 200-bed hospital, and it's still there, but vacant. Nobody's used it since they moved out. Now, he wrote a book called Meditopia, and if you go to meditopia.org, you can read his book for free, and it's very, very interesting, the history of sort of hidden medicine. And so Greg decided to look towards the absolute basics. Could he get to the bottom of what was really the basis of healing? And then he started looking at what is the essential nature of government. He came up with the word, he characterized what are psychopaths, and as you can see, they're aggressive, callous, cunning. Well, you know what a psychopath is. They run the place. You can't really miss that. He learned a lot from a book called Stone Age Economics, and he then decided to take the basis of Stone Age economics and redefine it and actually categorize how you go from pure love to pure evil. So, when a child is born, there is just pure unconditional love from mother to child. And slowly, bit by bit, it changes as it becomes... Okay, so he came up with the word Psychopathocracy, and it's realizing what happens when the culture you live in is so unspeakably corrupt that the institutions that represent health actually stand for the very opposite of what they claim to espouse, which is absolutely true. And it's, as he says here, everybody knows what a spoon is, and a spoon is made for the very purpose it's made from. You can use it for a million other things, but it is designed really for one purpose. And government is not designed for any purpose, I don't really think, apart from to control us. So this is a sociologist, Marshall Salin, who wrote Stone Age Economics, and this is what he calls the reciprocity chart. And the idea is that right in the center is pure love. And the further you get away from your own home and pure love and out into the village and then into the tribe and then into the intertribal section, the more negative things become. So it's pure love in the center and working out to less and less love. So he's made this chart where you can see it goes from balanced and pure good at A right the way through to K, which is pure evil. And I'm going to go through, on Mr. Caton's behalf, one by one, how negativity, or how he calls it negaprosity, goes from being unconditional love to being more and more selfish. So at the first level, he has what he calls the lighter hand, where the person wants now to get the better of you. They don't have your best interest at heart. They want to get to the better of you, but they want to do it lightly. So they're not really going to threaten you, but they just want to win. And then it goes to the second level, where there might be a little violent overtone, that something nasty might happen. And it goes through to, from where it might be somebody who's just a bully, to somebody who actually now may actually threaten you with real violence. They might begin to take out a gun, and you may feel it's not just they're going to hit you, but they actually could possibly kill you. And so at this point, maybe the bully says, right, give me your lunch, I'll give you a black eye, and it just gets more and more violent as it goes through. So, here we're looking at a sort of level of medium force where you're going to be punished for things. You're going to be punished for what one society might not think is a crime at all, but another society might view it as a crime. And further on through to where you have nationalist governments, and they now start to suggest that your immune system should be suppressed with drugs. And I think, as anybody knows, the medical profession are very good at immunosuppressant, and our whole way of being healthy is to have a strong immune system. But the very drugs that they want to give you, more commonly than not, want to suppress the very thing that's keeping you healthy and alive. I'm not sure whether any of you can actually read any of this from where you are. Yeah, it's totally unreadable, sorry about that. This is where it gets into what he calls global superpower. This is the euphemism for those rare governments that can rise to the level of global superpower. Most Americans are quite proud of the US as the sole current global superpower, not realizing the enormous toll such an entity extracts on the rest of the world. Then above governments are the global controllers, as you know, the Trilateral Fund, the Bilderbergers, the IMF, those sort of things. And above them, there is the global bankers. And we're getting further and further away from consciousness and love, and further into the sector. It says these belong to the sectors are exceedingly small select members of the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and other similar banking families, many of which can trace their families' involvement back to the 1600s, as we know. Then we get to the overlords. The overlords, in several of his books from the 1990s, British political writer David Icke, who Mr. Caton is quite a fan of, wrote extensively on reptilian bloodlines that cooperate at the pinnacle of world hierarchical power structure. He quotes Princess Diana, who before her assassination was alleged to have made the comment that Queen Elizabeth is not human. With the utmost gravitas, Icke had emphasized that the comment was not metaphorical. So this is again the overview, going from no control to total control. And okay, so this is where I jumped to unnecessarily before. So the psychopaths, complete absence of conscious and empathy. They're very adept at manipulating others, especially emotionally. Willingness to engage in immoral, criminal behavior, willing to take what they want and do as they please, regardless of who is hurt or wronged. Deceptive ability to appear outwardly benevolent. Deceptive ability to behave in superficially charming ways to hide their selfish motives. Willingness to use intimidation and violence to control others in order to satisfy their own needs. Willingness to intentionally violate the basic human rights of others. Complete absence of any sense of guilt or remorse for the harm their actions have caused others. Rationalization of their own immoral behavior. Psychopaths will attempt to lay blame upon someone else for their conduct. Denial. They will outright deny their own wrongdoing. Utter contemptuousness towards the feelings and desires of their fellow beings. Pathological liars will say anything without any concern for truth in order to advance their own hidden agendas. The ability to feign normal human emotions and empathy. Severely distorted sense of the consequences of their own actions. Total failure to accept any responsibility for their own socially irresponsible ways. Strong belief that they will never be brought to justice for their criminal behavior. So government is the face of extreme negaprosity, though it though we may understand how we arrived here, how can we escape? So this brings us to Dr. Emoto, who I'm sure many of you will know, and the power of frequency, the power of sound, the power of words. As I'm sure a lot of you know this, but all the beautiful crystals, water crystals, ice crystals at the top, were when the words of love were spoken to the water, and the non-crystal-like, sludgy-looking pictures below are where words like hate, I hate you, you're evil, those sort of words were spoken to the water, changing the actual quality of the water itself. So, Mr. Caton speaks about the benign common narrative, the government's wish to make us all conform by using the media to tell us what we're supposed to think. And clearly here in this room, most of us are thinking for ourselves. So Mr. Caton says that the governments are creating a train wreck of the environment, which is clearly true. And he's been using ayahuasca to look into the future with a large group of other, as he calls it, psychonauts. He's taken over 100 ayahuasca sessions, and he and many others believe that we have between 10 and 15 years only to stop ultimate destruction of this planet where we are extinct, he believes. So he describes government as disorder. In his book, he explains the accelerated entropy that's going on, how on our journey from wood to coal to oil and now to nuclear, that we are facing a major die-off in the near future. So we have to do something now. Greg wanted me to point out that he's got an interview on his website with Professor Guy McPherson, where they discuss these sort of subjects in great depth. So he points out that we need to be of service to others, and it's when, as governments do, they become of service to self, and corporations and people who are lacking empathy are of service to self, that things go wrong. He also wanted me to point out that all other species share their resources to a large degree. He wanted me to point out the way in a forest the tree roots all interlink, and the strong trees will feed the weak trees. So even though the tree maybe appear to be dead from above the ground because of age, it's still being kept alive at the root level by the interweaving of all the roots of all the other trees together, along with those interweaving with the fungal mats and so on. He also likes to point out that from his journeys with ayahuasca, that he and his many colleagues believe that in actual fact that there are forces in the universe that will not allow this planet to be destroyed. Now, quite what that means, I think you need to read his book, Psychopathocracy, to find out. Now, if you want to buy his book, which really is quite extraordinary from what I can gather so far, it's available on his website, which is herbhealers.com. And he believes that he was specifically targeted by the American government who do not want him to speak here. So, Mr. Caton also wanted me to say that he is not publicly trying to say that people should use herbal remedies. At this point, I believe that he's being very careful to stay on the right side of the law and not try and have anything worse happen to him. You know, in one of the interviews that I did with him some time ago, he explained that after his unfortunate events in prison in America, he decided to leave America and go to Ecuador, where the American government flew down in an unmarked plane and literally physically kidnapped him and took him back to America. So, you know, he's one of the bravest people you might hope to meet, with a very pure heart, whose only real intention is to heal people and make their lives better. And you know, he was very, very, very upset that he wasn't able to be here today. So I think, you know, clearly his main message is unconditional love, and I would like to say that he's done some of the greatest work. If you want to see his original work, the website is still up. It's called Alpha Omega Labs, and it shows you what he was doing to get into trouble in the first place. So that's probably just about all I can say. There was a lot more that he told me to say, and I'm afraid I haven't done as good a job as I would have liked to get all of this over to you. Just a very, very brief word about myself. You know, I'm a natural health consultant in England. I make a lot of YouTube videos, which you can see. And at the back of the room, in that far corner, there's a large pile of these cards, which is a free invitation to join a club called the Secret Health Club. And it's an online resource. And, you know, as you know, behind a club, you can say things that you maybe can't say in public. And there are a number of videos and information that if any of you are unwell, and if anybody needs to be well, I would suggest that studying Greg's website, herbhealers.com, and the secrethealthclub.com, you may find that some of the answers that you've been looking for are easier to find than you think. You know, most of the common diseases that are out there have been traditionally unknown. You know, they've been created by modern foods and, to some degree, modern medicines. And Greg Caton and myself have seen cases which have been said to be terminal. The doctors have said, you're not going to make it. You know, you have a day left to live, 2 days left to live, 3 days left to live. And the people who followed Mr. Caton's advice, and there are thousands and thousands of them who are still alive and healthy today through simple natural means. So on behalf of Mr. Caton, I thank you very, very much for coming, and I'm sorry I haven't been able to do him justice, but I hope you'll all join the Secret Health Club and all hopefully buy Mr. Caton's book. So thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely.
We have just a little bit of time, so if you have some questions, we can handle those right now. We've got about 5 minutes or so. Cynthia? Well, we need to turn up that microphone there, pretty please. Is it on?
Okay, great. I'm Cynthia McKinney. And
Yes.
Thank y'all. And for probably the last 20 years, I have lived in a state of constant outrage. So I am wondering if in the book, Psychopathocracy, if it explains why good people allow the psychopaths to obtain and retain positions of state power.
Your mic is off. Here, we can do it this way.
I believe it's because we, the people, have not yet got together enough.
Let's try your mic alone.
Yeah, maybe my mic's working there.
No.
Sorry about this. Should I take this one off? I don't know. So, it's lack of knowledge. We have been fooled to the nth degree. We've been told huge lies. Let me just give you a few of them. We've been told that cholesterol is bad. We've been told that fat is bad. But if you look at your brain is mainly water. So if you're dehydrated, you're not going to be able to think properly. But if you took the water away, what's the solid part that's left in your brain? It's cholesterol, it's fat. Your brain is made of fat. So the Alzheimer's dementia epidemic out there is because we've been told not to eat the very stuff that makes up our brains. We've been told that salt is bad. Salt will give you a heart attack. Well, table salt, the free-running powdery stuff, is very dangerous. But real salt, which is grey and damp, if you go to the ocean, you dry out some salt, it's grey and damp. That balances out blood pressure, raises low blood pressure, lowers high blood pressure. We've been told that cancer is incurable. We've been told that type 2 diabetes is a disease. No, it's not. It's bad eating, essentially. We've been told that arthritis is not recoverable. 30 years ago, I took one antibiotic, ended up in hospital. I had arthritis so badly, I couldn't even dress myself. The doctors told me it was hopeless. It wasn't. I was low on minerals and vitamins. I was low on magnesium. I was low on very simple, cheap, incredibly available nutritional supplements, and I completely reversed my illness. A few years after that, I saw terminal cancer reversed at the advice of Linus Pauling, a very, very famous American scientist, who advised my friend to start taking 35 grams of vitamin C every day. They had 10 weeks left to live. He lived another 23 years. There are answers to pretty much every health question out there, and we need to seek it out, and we need to explain to everybody we know that autism is reversible. Alzheimer's is reversible. And because the world is getting iller and iller at every step, everybody is so stressed, so tired, that they can't change the world. We need to get everybody well, and then we can change the world for the better. So I need to wrap it up. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Oh, look at this.
There was an idea.
To bring together a group of remarkable people.
To see if we could become something more. So when they needed us, we could fight the battles
that they never could.
In time, the state will know what it's like to lose. To feel so desperately that it's right, yet to fail all the same. Dread it. Run from it. Freedom still arrives.
Vacate the state. Engage all the speakers and get this man a microphone.
Fun isn't something that one considers when eradicating tyranny. But this does put a smile on my face.